Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. And today I get to hang out with my man, Brandon Eldridge, in the house, executive
Yeah.
director of the SBDC here in Colorado Springs. Welcome to the show, Brandon.
Thank you, Johnny. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
You are a dynamic connector. So you're one of those people that when I met you, I was like, oh, yeah, this dude's like me. We just hit it off pretty super fast.
Yeah, Johnny, you're my spirit animal. So
And the evidence is that picture you have behind you. That's like one of my favorite pieces of art. You got to show everybody the piece of art
the
you got
Great
behind you.
Wave. Yeah, the Great Wave.
Oh
Mount
yeah,
Fuji.
the
It's on my bucket list.
dude.
That's my astronaut holding the Colorado flags.
Yeah, man. So that I did not know that bucket list. Japan is bucket list for me too.
Yeah, excellent.
You trying to get there?
Yeah, I would love. I mean, I like to go. I live in Colorado. You got to go hiking. You got to take advantage of it, and Mount Fuji seems like a mountain that I would like to hike one day.
Yeah.
So
Do people hike Mount Fuji? Like, is that a
I
thing?
think so. Yeah. I mean, if I'm wrong about that, then my bucket list is ruined. Yeah, I'm
Or
pretty
it's
sure you can hike the thing.
or it's going to become an illegal bucket list, I guess.
Right?
You saw it here, folks. uh, right on, man. Well, I'm gonna to jump us into the conversation. I'm gonna have you give us a childhood memory.
Boy, a childhood memory. Well, I'm getting older, so it depends on when you want to define me as a child. But
Yeah, when you were 40.
yeah, I'm an army brat, so we moved around a lot. And I was born in Germany, and we got to travel to a few cool places. But when we were stationed in Kansas, we had a short stint where we lived on a farm. I mean, we literally had we had a chicken coop with like 150 chickens. We'd rent out the land to the local farmers, and they would use it for the cattle, and they'd graze on our land. And then we had this barn, and the barn was the hayloft. And I will tell you, the barn was as scary for an 8-year-old or 9-year-old as you could ever dream.
Yeah.
And it sucked because upstairs in the hayloft, it had a basketball court, and I loved playing up there when I could.
Yeah.
But I was terrified. I thought the whole damn thing was haunted. So
Yeah.
I would never go in by myself. And my dad, being in the military, he'd go on these stints where he was away. And we had 2 billy goats, and I was in charge of feeding them and taking care of them while my dad was away. And when he went away for probably a couple months, he came back. And I'll be honest, Johnny, like I was young. I probably should have, asked for some help or something, but I did not. And the goats did not survive that stint.
No.
I know. And, we had this problem with the coyotes. They'd come and eat the chickens every once in a while. And I remember being upstairs in my room watching my dad like walk out to the barn. And I was like looking through the window like, oh my gosh. And he would do this thing where he'd whistle, and I had to come if he whistled. And my dad whistled, and I was like, oh, it's here it is. It's going to happen. I don't know I don't know what to expect. And those poor goats, he was kind to me,
Yeah.
but he was like, when was the last time you were in here? And I was like, just like a couple days ago, I think. And he's like, okay, well, the coyotes got to the goats. We gotta clean them up and bury them. And I'm like, okay. So that was my punishment, is like I had to carry these like 80-pound goats I had to bury them in a hole or whatever. I know it's kind of a morbid story, but it really like as an adult, like I try to overcome my fears.
Yep.
I have a fear of heights. I have a
Yep.
fear of a lot of things, right? I'm a worry person.
Yep.
And so it just is a reminder that I need to like overcome my fears and just do it or
Yeah.
ask for help.
Yeah, bro.
Sorry for the morbid story.
Dude, thanks
today.
for leading with vulnerability, dude. That's what I call that, right? Because of course I can identify with that a lot, man. Like fear is a tough one for me. I feel it super deeply, and sometimes I feel it even in my body, right? And so yeah, you're talking about story. So the issue with the goats was you were afraid. You were afraid to go in the barn to go
Yeah, and I
take care
wasn't
of
even
them.
afraid of the goats. I was afraid of the barn.
You're afraid of the barn.
And it was like a real like Friday the 13th barn. Like silos hanging. Everything was rusted.
Yeah.
Boards. I mean, it really felt haunted in that place. And to me, I let that fear kind of dictate my actions. And,
Right.
hopefully, if my dad's watching now, I don't know if I've reconciled that with him or not. But if
Yeah.
he's watching, sorry, Pop.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, dude. But
What are you gonna do?
I love what you learned from it, which is like ask for help. That's a big one, right? That's because we think we got to do it ourselves. We always think like this is on me. My identity or my value is tied to this thing. I've got to make it happen, and then we don't ask for help, and then fear gets the better of us, right? Like that's
right.
So man, asking for help and then actually like facing up to those things, dude. I love it, bro. I love it. That's a good lifelong lesson for a lot of us, man. For me, it was in my basement in my childhood house. We had a boiler room, like where the furnace was and stuff like that. But there was no working light in there.
Okay.
And so it was perpetually from the time we lived there to the time I left, that room never saw light. It was dark. And I just had nightmares of what would come out of that.
Yeah.
You know, because even when I would venture in there and look in there, it was just so horrifyingly scary to see shapes and not know what was in there and have no way to know, you know?
Absolutely. Man, again, I can relate, and not to belabor the childhood traumas of our life, but that same house, we had to go into the crawl space to put salt in the water or like a water softener. And to get to the light, you had to go in the middle of and there was a pull string, like in Home Alone, and you pull on it and click on the light. But there might be a snake in the rafters.
Yeah.
And so you were always walking into there to get to the light like this. Like, I hope the snake doesn't fall on my head. And we had a little dead snake collection from that basement.
So like for real snakes, like legit snakes.
No, real snakes.
Like not imaginary snakes.
No, because the foundation was built on top of just like old like Flintstone. And so you had to get down there to put softener in the water. But you had to click the light on, and you didn't know if you was going to get attacked. Yeah, we had real snakes in the house.
Dude, all right, man. It's one thing to imagine monsters. It's another thing to have a room full of snakes that you have to go into on a regular basis. Okay, dude.
Yeah, and I grew up in like Indiana Jones era, so I'm always like, my imagination was wild all the time. So
yeah, but the snakes were real though. Okay,
they were.
All right, gosh.
Yes.
Crazy. All right. So tell me a little bit more about, as we get to learn, more about your calling and who you are in this community. First, tell us about the SBDC, Small Business Development Center, Colorado Springs. Tell me about it.
Yeah, thank you for that. And the SBDC mission is way bigger than me. We have 1,000 offices across the country. And for that, I'm grateful and privileged that I get to serve this organization and help our entrepreneurs. My office helps around 700 businesses a year. We do about 2,000 hours of free one-on-one consultations. And those are always confidential, so we try and put it in a way that if you got some real issues or some intellectual property you're trying to protect, we give you a safe space to be able to talk about those challenges. Right now, I have around 35 advisors on our team, and they all come from various industries and background. Most of them have experience running businesses, doing government contracting, growing and scaling businesses, whatever that looks like. That you're getting somebody who's coming from a place who's been there and done it before.
Yeah.
We find that, a lot of entrepreneurs try and mount the summit, if you will, by themselves. And that's what we're here for, is to kind of give them some community and some resources that hopefully they find valuable. So our office covers El Paso and Teller County, and we do big events like Small Business Week, first week of May. We have our AI Summit we do in September. This will be our 19th year doing a Veterans Small Business Conference. We call it Mission Colorado.
Yeah.
About 30% of my clients are veteran affiliated, and so being an Army brat, being closely tied to the military, it's a passion for me, and it certainly aligns with our mission.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, how is the SBDC funded?
Well, in all ways, really. I receive federal grants, some state money, county, city, all municipalities from the top down really support us. And then we write grants ourselves. We do a lot of sponsorships. We love working with organizations that invest into small businesses, like lenders, HR companies, things like that. They'll sponsor a lot of the work that we do. And then if we have donors out there that are looking to just support us, we don't sell T-shirts or anything like that, and we don't sell our services, meaning you don't have to pay to get access to an advisor, but we do have a lot of stakeholders that believe in our mission and support us so that we can be here.
All right, so that sounds like when I hear it, it sounds too good to be true. Right?
Yes.
Like that, because I'm an entrepreneur. Like, you know what I mean? Like I
Yes.
there's probably a lot of people out there that are entrepreneurs that actually wouldn't even think to come through the doors and get free help and wisdom and advice and community even. What
Yeah.
keeps people from you help 700 businesses a year, that feels like that could easily be more, right?
Yes.
So what stops people?
Well, because we are federally funded, part of our limitations is I don't put commercials on TV. I'm not buying billboards. So we don't do traditional marketing here.
Yes.
So it's a lot of word of mouth. It's a lot of, our workshops are a funnel to the one-on-one consultations.
Yeah.
So we hope that people engage with, our startup day class or, our webinar series. Hopefully they find us in some way so that they can unlock that. And it's funny that you say it that way because sometimes people come to me, they're like, oh, save those sessions for somebody who really needs it. And my comment back is always, you also, that's not a resource that is expungible. Like we can keep moving, we can still help the other businesses if you're coming back.
Yeah.
I love when we get an entrepreneur, especially in their first year of business, take advantage of at least 5 sessions.
Yeah.
And that number to me is very important because if you get 5 hours of consultation in
Yeah.
your first year of business,
Yeah.
you're 5 times more likely to be in business in 5 years from now
Crazy.
if you want to be.
Crazy.
So that first year, it's so critical to get the advice and get the support and understand the resources so that over that period of time, you can get to, some longevity with your business.
Yeah.
And it's not just about business plans. It's not just about access to capital. It's not just about, should I hire an employee or get a contractor? It's all of those things. And so I tell people, run the circuit. Get with a generalist. Get with an AI expert. Get with somebody who understands P&Ls and balance sheets. Do all of that because it's what we're here for. We don't want you to feel limited.
Yeah, that's great. So are y'all a nonprofit?
So we are hosted by the Colorado Springs Chamber and EDC.
Okay.
It's a 501c6, so by virtue of that, that's what I am. We've been hosted by the county. Oftentimes you'll see SBDCs are hosted at a university, which is a lot of times a 501c3 or a 501c6 or whatever the university network is. Colorado's unique in that we're hosted at the state, and then I am locally by a chamber. So 1,000 SBDCs across the country, it's probably less than 5% actually have the same kind of symbiote relationship that we have here locally.
Okay. Yeah. But for those who are not familiar with the numbering, 501c3 or 501c6, that is nonprofit? Yes?
Technically, yes. The C6 is more of a chamber connotation because chambers like to lobby.
Okay.
I don't do any lobbying, but that allows them to put together, a government affairs council and to do some real influence with our legislators.
Got it.
So,
and you're a mission-driven organization. So,
correct.
In other words, your charter isn't to make money. Your charter is to help entrepreneurs.
Correct. It's funny, when Doge started, I had to go to ChatGPT and be like, am I an NGO? I don't know if I'm an NGO or, that word kept getting thrown around. So that's a non-government organization.
Yeah.
And we're not. We are similar to an NGO, but we're not. So we are mission driven. We provide free services and we are very symbiote with our host in whatever form that takes.
Okay. Very cool, man. All right, so that's where you work, and in your role as the executive director, tell me a little bit about what your personal mission is, or what your role is, in what you're trying to accomplish.
So we were talking about that community I grew up in with the goats and the snakes. That was a really small town in Kansas, and I remember my mom was the administrator for the assisted living in the community. So I used to ride my bike around all the time. And, every time they'd have a parade, the bank was sponsoring the event and, they had free popcorn on Fridays. And the community just was so very tight knit. And in my prior life, I'm a recovering banker now. And so I spent about 12 years in the banking industry. And when I got into that, I remembered those days of when the bank was the sponsor. The bank was actively involved in community.
Yeah.
So when I started at Chase Bank in 2010, it made sense to me that I would invest in community. And that really started me on a path to a whole new life, really, Johnny. I've been able to serve on nonprofit boards and do volunteer projects. and be involved with helping shape the identity and culture of this community in ways that I never dreamed that I would even have that kind of influence on.
Yeah.
So being a banker, I very quickly realized we have some resources that we could give back. And so I started working with the nonprofit community in so many ways. And I love sharing that, but I don't want to belabor your podcast here, but I will tell you it opened the doors for me in a lot of ways. And then eventually I got recruited over to Vector Bank before the pandemic. And, Vector's smaller. And so I had to recalibrate what my community service looked like. And that's when I started doing board service. And when I say board service, that means like getting on a board for a nonprofit, doing governance work. And that's still volunteerism. It's still giving back, but it's in a very different way. And I've now grown a passion for what nonprofits do, what that governance looks like, and really just all facets of economic development, meaning, nonprofit work can be education, nonprofit work can be public safety, it could be growing small businesses. There's just so many ways to look at that, and I think it's really important that people who have the ability invest into nonprofit work in whatever capacity you can.
All right, so there's two features I see in that as we start to kind of draw the thread towards your gifting. One part of it is it seems like you've always had this desire to give back or invest in the community, right? So there's a value there of giving back, social good, right? Community good, civic good.
Yes.
And then there's another piece of connecting, right? So because you're obviously now you're in both those roles at the bank, you're suddenly relating with multiple different nonprofits and looking for opportunities and networking and starting to build, connections and relationships by which there is influence, right? And influence is a byproduct of that a lot of times.
Yes.
So were you like that as a like where did those things come from? The ability to connect, desire to connect, the ability to do good in the world, impact your community. Where do those two things come from?
Well, some of it is nature over nurture.
Yep.
Like I'm an extrovert. I just am.
Mm-hmm.
And I take energy from being around people and being in large groups and doing just this kind of activity. Like this gets me fired up. Like after this podcast, man, I'll be buzzing for 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
So that, and if you know Strength Finders, a couple of my top are communication. Woo is my favorite. That's winning others over. I'm an activator and a strategist. I like thinking strategy and thinking high level about what the way an organization or a mission impacts the work that we do every day. So that's how I naturally am. That's my God-given talents. And then I will say I live my life by 5 core values, and one of them is make someone's day. And what I mean by that is to go out of your way to do something kind for somebody else. And the reason I really like that is it's actually kind of a selfish core value, because when you go out of your way to do something nice for somebody else, you're actually doing something good for yourself, and you're helping create gratitude in your own life. And when you have a life filled with gratitude, it can be very rewarding. You can live a very happy life that way. And so one of my core values being make somebody's day, that goes back to my mission-driven work in life. I like working with entrepreneurs. I like working in community. I like working with nonprofit. I like seeing social impact happening. So that's very much aligned with my core values.
What are the 5 core values? Most people I talk to don't have 5 core values that they live by. So
okay.
Go ahead and tell us the 5 core values that you live by.
Okay. So the first one is play. Work made fun gets done. When you do things in a playful and joyful way, I will tell you, you can unlock creativity you didn't know was possible.
Yeah.
So let's have some fun when we do work.
Yeah.
The second one is be present. I'm guilty of this all the time. I'm constantly thinking about what's next on my calendar, or, did I say the right thing, in that meeting? So when you're constantly living in the future or in the past, you can get stressed out, and it creates burnout really fast.
Yeah.
And Johnny, I'm guilty of doing a lot of things, and people sometimes will come to me and say, how do you do so much? I'm living in the moment, man. I'm here right now with you. We are having this conversation, and I'm enjoying every second of this.
Yeah, dude.
So if you can be present, it helps you fight burnout. The third one is choose your attitude. I strongly believe that attitude is a choice. And it's not to say there aren't factors or things that could happen that influence your attitude. But you got to wake up every day saying, I'm going to attack the day. I'm going to choose a positive attitude. And I also know that my attitude is going to be contagious. And if you're choosing a negative one, you know that you're having that negative influence on people. So challenge yourself every day. What are some adjectives that speak to positive attitude? So choose your attitude. The fifth one or the fourth one I mentioned already, make somebody's day. If you can, just give somebody a compliment. And I'm not talking about just like ego boosting, and I'm talking about sometimes you got to do something for somebody and they may never know you did it.
Yeah.
If you could go out of your way and they never knew that you even did it, how powerful is that? And as a believer, I think that that's our mission that God put us on this planet for, is to help others.
Yeah.
And the fifth one is be accountable. I strongly believe that we need to own our actions. There are times when we are going to mess up and we are going to ask for grace. Going back to that goat story or at the beginning of this podcast, I wasn't proud of my actions. I wasn't happy with what I did. But you got to own it. You did it, or you didn't do it in this case. And so you have to own that. And to me, I don't believe in the four-letter word of fair.
Yeah.
This is probably more controversial. I believe that if you start getting stuck with that word fair in your brain, you start that jealousy mode and you start thinking about, oh, well, they got this and they got that. Just be accountable to what you can do. Be accountable to your own actions. And don't worry about whether things are fair or not. The good Lord will take care of you when it's all said and done. And so in my humble opinion, I think that people need to just be as accountable as you can and just try and own when you mess up.
Yeah, man. So first of all, I'm impressed. What would I name here? There's a couple things as you're talking. I'm like, bro, you've thought about this.
Yes.
You've thought about that. You've put in the work.
Yes.
To create some guidelines and some rails for how you're going to live an effective life. So kudos for that, first of all. Because that's, I know what you just rattled off without even a pause probably took years, right?
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about the how? Like how, and because as I'm putting myself in the shoes of the listener, and I'm trying to be curious on behalf of the audience also. We want to live with intention. People want to live with intention, but it's really hard to live with intention, right? So tell us a little bit about how did you do that, and how do you make it so that those 5 things that you rattled off are not just a nice set of bullets that you put up on your office wall, but how do you check in with them to make sure you are doing those things in a given day, right? Tell us the secret sauce, bro.
Well, I do talk about them a lot, and to your point, I have very intentionally picked those 5. And they're influenced by other places, right? I'm not original in these thoughts. People have said these words before, and I'm just putting them in my 5 bulleted points. But, I had a book. I like to take a lot of notes. I like to be a student. And I remember I had one book that I was doing all my notes, and I think I wrote the word intention like 15 times. And it was around the pandemic, and I'm like, why does this word intentionality keep coming up in my life? And, I've got a whole bookshelf full of leadership books and personality assessments and all of these things. And, I've spent a lifetime learning about who I am and what makes others work, right? What makes others people tick. And so because of that, it's informed the things that I know that I really like. I tell my kids this all the time. You don't know what you like until you know what you don't like. So try as much as you can. Get out there and just, I was a waiter at Joe's Crab Shack. I was a cook at Gunther Tootie's. I worked at a movie theater. I mean, I could go through the whole list of jobs I've had, and I can tell you, I don't like cooking. It's not for me. I'm not somebody who's going to spend a lot of time in a kitchen. But you put me in a room with people that's going to be doing impactful work, I can help keep people aligned. I can help convene. I can help massage that room into thinking in the same way.
Yep.
So I know what I like because I know what I don't like.
Dude. So I'm going to take that and put a circle around what you just said as a bit of accidental advice, maybe for the younger crowd, like the young
Okay.
people. Cause I did have a young man came to me for some advice, some career advice, and which way should I go? What should I do? I'm just getting out of college. I don't know what I want to do. And the advice I gave him was very similar to what you just said. It's like, all right, well, you got to get experience, bro. You got to get experience. You don't know. There is no way to know, right?
Yeah.
Like, you want to know what you want to do, you got to go do some stuff. You got to go try some stuff. You got to go be open to experience, right?
Yes.
And that's what you described in your story. Like, yes, like you had to find out. I like that framework even better. Like, you need to go ahead and try stuff, and it's not negative if you don't like it. It's data if you don't like it. Right?
Yeah.
That's what you're getting at.
That's the fail forward methodology.
Yeah.
You're going to make mistakes, and going back to accountability, these are just it's data for the brain, right?
Yeah.
And if you mess up, just learn from that. And if you are in a job you don't like, now you know what kind of job you shouldn't be applying for next time. And I've had my anxieties about my own ambitions and my career and where I want to be, and there's times and I know that you're familiar with the Ikigai model. You've had the author of that on your show, which is fantastic. I just soaked in that episode, by the way, Johnny. I was just so happy to see him on here.
Dude, shout out to Tim Tamashiro. That's my guy. Yeah.
And that Ikigai of, like, when you find your purpose and you are doing what you've been put on this planet for. Of course, I look at that through a lens of faith and what I believe the Lord's put me on the planet for. But, being at SBDC, I get told all the time, like, man, you're really good in that job. And I think it's just because I'm extroverted and I like to do social media. But there's so much to this job that people have no idea what I have to do behind the scenes. And I will tell you, Johnny, if I didn't spend a lifetime in banking, a lifetime in retail, and all of those experiences I had, as a teenager, kind of figuring out my way, I would not be successful in this job today. And it took a lot of experience, a lot of patience, and a lot of preparing, right? Like, I don't know what God has in store for me tomorrow. I know that I have what I think I could be doing, and I know that what my abilities allow me to do. But I'm also at the mercy of what God has in store for me. So
Sure.
I'm just always being prepared. I'm always ready for that next thing. But I'm also comfortable with where I'm at and letting my roots grow right here, right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good, man. Well, so it's clear as far as, like, your superpower is concerned, because I like to speak in superpower language. You've given us some of those hints already, right? In terms of the strengths finders. In terms of being an extrovert, a connector, you connect easily with people. You get energy from being with people. I think you said activator, strategist, winning others over. See, that has to do with influence, which is very different from power, right? Power is like, I can make you do what I want. Influence is, like, I'm trusted and respected enough where my voice matters to people. Right. So, like, all that stuff kind of factors in. Then the 5 core values: make someone's day, play, be present, choose your attitude, and be accountable. Are got kind of the tool set in there. Now, if I try to unify all that together and simplify that into, what are you called to do? Like, what do you believe your calling is on this earth? Do you think you could articulate that for me?
I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah.
But I think I have a better idea now.
Yeah.
I love reading, but I'm not good at it. And so what I mean by that is, like, I have all these leadership books, but most of them I've only read through Audible, right? Yeah. It's very difficult for me to sit down. I don't know if you call it ADD. I don't know if you want to call it just me being an extrovert and getting that energy from people. I don't know what you call it, but I know that it's hard for me to sit down and read a book. And because of that, I never thought I would be somebody that would write a book either. And so I'm actively working on that first publication. And for me, it's special because it's allowing me to lean into some strengths and some experiences that I've had and talk about something that I've learned that maybe other people would like to learn as well. And I never thought I would be in that kind of. I actually used to say when I was younger, as a leader, I was 18. I was a store manager at a retail store. So I've been a leader as a young person and for a long time now. And I used to say, you tell me what the vision is, I'm going to go and execute on it.
Yeah.
These days, I feel like I'm much better at creating that vision and letting others grow into that execution lane.
Yeah.
And it was a switch that happened somewhat in my late 30s where I started to go, wow, I'm starting to see the forest through the trees. I'm starting to see the patterns in this better than maybe some of my peers can. And so I started to see myself as a strategist and a visionary and not just somebody that was executing and being very tactical. Now I can do both now, which is great, but I really enjoy being in that visionary space. And the more I do that and the more I am writing and building this book and this portfolio, the more I'm realizing I have a voice. I'm a student also of the 7 Habits.
Yeah.
And the 8th habit is find your voice and help others find theirs. One of the 7 habits, by the way, going back to what you talked about, power. In the book, he talks a little bit about, Stephen Covey talks about think win-win and then synergize. And I always had a problem with that, Johnny, because I was like, isn't that the same thing? Like, I'm thinking win-win. Synergy is us both saying win-win. And then one day I had this epiphany of like, oh, think win-win is me going into a conversation saying, I'm going to find ways to win with this person.
Yeah.
But getting synergy means that you get them to also think win-win.
Yeah, dude. Come on, preach it.
There is something powerful if you can adapt a skill that influences others to think win-win with you. Now you're synergizing. And that's the habit that I think Stephen Covey was trying to nail on is you can go into any relationship and think win-win and have a positive attitude about it and all that good stuff. It doesn't mean that they're going to be bought into that. It doesn't mean that they're going to reciprocate. So that habit of getting others to do that, that is real influence. And that is powerful in so many ways. So I kind of went down a rabbit hole here, but...
well, let me say this real quick, because what you just said is actually really important. Because we live in a period of time where division and opposition and tribalism seem very prominent and prevalent in the world, right? But thinking the way that you described, not only thinking win-win, but then inviting other people from across the aisle to think win-win with you. Yeah. So sometimes I think as a culture and as individuals, we start to lose sight that that's even possible. It starts to seem impossible that people with different ideas, different opinions, different thoughts, different perspectives could actually come into community with someone who thinks differently from them and be for that person's good and that person be for your good, and that's where thriving comes from, right? So I just want to commend you on that. Like, I love the idea of thinking win-win, but I love even more the idea of, and it's also my invitation, right? Like, the skill is the invitation to invite other people. But like, you can say you want that, but there's a cost to that because it means I've got to lay down my arms first, right? To show you the way to lay down your arms. I can't get you out of your tribe if I don't get out of my tribe, right? Like, and that's more complicated than it sounds. Yeah,
the skill or the habit or whatever you want to call it, there's a process to that, right? If you're diametrically opposed on an issue, you're not going to make any progress if you're not willing to give a little.
Yep.
Or if you're not willing to make some compromises or invest money or time or talent or whatever that is, right? So that compromise and that the art of the deal, if you will, is where do we find middle ground so that we can find a way forward together? And, we are in a very politically divided world today. We have a lot of issues that as a society we've got to resolve, and we're going to have more people thinking synergistically to overcome it.
Yep. Yeah, man. And it's going to start with connector. It starts with people who are willing to do that, right? It starts with people who are willing to show the way. And so I definitely see that with you and even with what you've described. So So um, that was good. We talked a bit about calling. Now let's talk about who you help and why you help them. So in other words, who for the majority of your time is probably work, right? So who do you help and how do you help them, or who do you help and why do you help them?
A loaded question again, because I wear a lot of different hats. I'm a father, and so keeping my children's schedule a priority for me and making sure that they get some quality time with me.
Yes.
It's important.
Yes.
And so I have to balance that. By the way, I'm a golfer, and when I took this job 3 years ago, I haven't golfed really much since, and
Yeah.
I made it a goal this year to kind of invest some time back into me, because I'm a giver in that way, but I also need to find some things that I'm passionate about that I can do for me. But
Yeah.
that was a little sidebar. I'm recently married, and so I have people in my family that I want to make sure get me,
Yes.
all of me.
Yes.
So that's number one.
Number one.
Going to my community and my team and my staff and the folks that we serve, I have the privilege of being a leader of a team. And so my staff is very important to me, and always trying to find ways to invest back into them and seeing how I can support their lives as well. I think as a leader, we are kind of like a therapist in many ways. You have to be that trusted person that can help them through challenging and good times. And so finding that balance for my staff is always important to me. And then, of course, my mission and the work that I get to do in the community. I help entrepreneurs. My personal consulting business is for nonprofits. In the city of Colorado Springs and the Pikes Peak region. I'm just so passionate about the place that we get to live. Being an Army brat, I think that I wake up every day and look at that mountain and go, my gosh, it's such a cool place to live.
Yeah.
And so I want my kids and my future generations to look back and say, hey, my grandpa helped build this, and I would love to leave that as a legacy. But for me, it's just about finding ways to change my little corner of the world. So,
that certainly strikes a chord with me. In some ways, I think that's the best we can do is understand what is my farm to tend, right? Like what is my plot of land to tend, and how do I get that to sprout up? And so love it, man. Family and then your employees. You have the people that work for you and work with you, and then the people that you're helping on the other end of that mission, which are entrepreneurs, specifically in Colorado Springs. Now, you haven't mentioned yet your consulting company for nonprofits. Can you tell us a little bit about that piece of your life?
Yeah, it's totally separate from my day job, and it allows me to kind of flex some nonprofit muscles. Being in that world for a decade now, I understand governance. I understand the proper way a meeting should be run, if there is a proper way.
Yeah.
And I also understand personalities. I understand people.
Yeah.
And so I decided this year that it was an opportunity for me to invest in our nonprofit community. So when nonprofits are having their annual retreat, I can come alongside, help them audit their bylaws, help them understand the dynamics of their board. We've all heard of Robert's Rules of Order, but how does that really apply in a boardroom? And so I have a retreat model that I do, and I come alongside and provide that as a fee for service, but it's also part of my mission to expand out some of my knowledge to the community. So my hope is that, at one point in this pod, you asked me, what is my future?
Yeah.
And I mentioned I'm writing this book, and I'm leaning into this nonprofit consulting business, and I just see a pathway, if I can stay focused and stay on this track, that I could have a lot of influence in that space of teaching others how to run businesses, teaching others how to be very strategic about mission and vision, and how to govern properly and do it in a compassionate and intentional way. So that's my hope, is that over the next few years I get to lean into that space.
So two follow-ups, one about the book and then one about the nonprofit consulting. So can I assume then that the way that your nonprofit consulting works is, you said it's a retreat model.
Yes.
And so does that mean that nonprofit leaders are going on, like from various nonprofits, are going on a retreat with you and learning more about effective governance and leading their organizations? Is that?
Yeah, typically a nonprofit board will schedule an annual retreat and they will spend that time doing some mission and vision work.
Yeah.
And it's usually a Saturday and they take the better part of the day and order food and have a full day retreat. And a lot of times, if you read your bylaws, it'll say you need to have formal training for your board annually.
Oh.
And especially in those cases, that's where I get to come and provide that.
Yeah.
But even if it's not defined in your bylaws, it's always good to recalibrate on some of the work, especially when you start to see mission drift, when you start to see conflict kind of percolating on your board. Or frankly, you're just feeling a little lost, or maybe you got new board members, and that's where I can come alongside and recalibrate that whole team for you and give you some ideas to take back. And then usually what happens is after a retreat that I'll do, we'll take the better part of a Saturday morning, and the next 6 months, the committee work is informed by that retreat.
Yeah.
And they take what comes out of that day, and that's how they fundraise over the next 6 months. And that's how they do their programs over the next year. So that's what I enjoy doing. I like to come in, kind of guide that governance side of things and allow them to think differently about their organization.
Very cool, man. Yeah, I could see how that would be very useful. Do you walk alongside it? Like, is it really kind of retreat, show up, training, help there, walk away? Or do you?
Yes.
It is that. Okay.
It is that. For long-term mission and vision planning, I have several folks in this community that do a lot of that kind of work.
Yeah.
And so for me to think long-term planning, I want to be respectful of the fact that I've got a day job and I've got a lot of stakeholders in this community.
Yep.
And I at this point haven't scaled up to that place yet.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And I could see myself doing that one day, but honestly, like, I'm very passionate about my day work. So I got to make sure I protect that as well.
I hear that. And then the book. You got to tell us a little bit about the book. You thought I was going to let you get off the hook on that one.
It all falls under the umbrella of the Edison Institute. So that's the name of my business, is the Edison Institute. It's that consultant work, and my book is going to be called The Edison Effect. So if you know the butterfly effect, the premise is what if Edison had never discovered or invented the light bulb, and the butterfly effect that's had on our society today. But I take it through the lens of entrepreneurship journey, the seasons, if you will. So I'm not writing chapters, I'm writing seasons. I have different seasons of entrepreneurship that I walk people through, and I'm explaining what you should be feeling and thinking in that each season of entrepreneurship. I believe that the weather shows seasons.
Yeah.
I believe that our life operates in seasons.
Yeah.
And I think the same is true for entrepreneurship. So my book is about what are those seasons like, and how should you feel, or what should you be doing in each one of those seasons.
Yeah. Imagine a guy who spends his days serving the entrepreneurial community, writing a book about the seasons of entrepreneurship. It doesn't make sense to me. It's just, why? I don't see.
It's all my passion project, man. I'm just, you get that calling, you get the itch, and you just know. And the first season is the epiphany, and I had my epiphany moment. So I'm leaning into it, and I'm trying to grow it.
So you love entrepreneurship. You must love entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs.
Can I share a quick story about that? So growing up, my grandpa would bake this chocolate cake. And I discovered that my great-grandmother owned a diner in northern Indiana. And that diner, my grandpa would have to go in every morning and help her bake cakes and serve coffee. And when he got older, he worked in a vocational school, and his side gig was he owned a silk screening shop. And so he would make the shirts and the sweatshirts and stuff for like the swim team and the football club. Yeah. So he owned a silk screening shop.
Yeah.
And growing up, my dad had a pressure washing company, and so I would go with him and clean trucks and siding of houses, and so my dad had this shop, and then my sister is now a social media influencer. She actually makes money doing TikTok videos. Can you believe that, Johnny?
That's crazy,
I
bro.
don't know how she does it, but she
That's
does.
crazy.
She makes money. And I just, that linear path of entrepreneurship, I mean, it's been relevant in my life. It's part of my story. I think it's part of a lot of Americans' story. It's part of our story as a collective. And I guarantee every single person listening to this, you know an entrepreneur or you have a side hustle yourself. And so the reality is like we're surrounded by entrepreneurs all the time.
Yes.
And so I'm not talking about something that's unusual or it's kind of embedded in a lot of us. And of course, in my own personal story as well.
Yeah. So then it starts to, it makes sense, man. Yeah. It's like the air you breathe. It's just I think sometimes we can make the word sounds like far away. You know, it's been a recent thing for me to even refer to myself in those terms because, you know, talk to me 10 years ago and I would have been like, I'm not an entrepreneur. What do you even mean? But
Yeah.
it does have to do with we create, we have ideas. We want to try stuff. You know, we want to build stuff. We want to build things. We want to build things that haven't existed before. You're writing a book. I've written a book, right?
Yeah.
You know, I've got side hustles. I like to hustle. I like side hustles.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Side hustles where I get to do my passion.
Exactly.
You know, even though, and again, there's a lot of correlation between my passion and the day job that I have. But like this right here, this is passion. You know, this is this is just joy.
Of course.
Yeah, this isn't the thing that I get paid to do or that supports my family. So
Yeah. You know, I never heard my dad use the word entrepreneur.
Mhm.
He had 3 businesses that he operated.
yeah,
But I didn't know the word entrepreneur until I became a banker. Truly.
Yeah.
But I knew that people owned businesses and I knew that some of my rich friends built a roofing company, right? Like, so you're going, okay, that's entrepreneurship. And to your point, we don't oftentimes think of ourselves as entrepreneurs. And I always ask this question in some of our classes is, define entrepreneur for me. And everybody's got a different answer for it.
I'm sure they
And
do.
I heard a really funny one recently, which was, it's somebody with a crazy idea with a will to execute on it.
Yeah,
You know, I've always just seen entrepreneurs as creatives. You just think outside the box. You don't see the world through the same lens. So,
do you like that definition? So someone with a crazy idea with the will to execute.
no, I don't think that's my forever adoption of the definition of it. But my go-to is that I think an entrepreneur is somebody with a creative idea that's willing to execute.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I don't think it's crazy. I don't think anything is crazy. I mean, I've got some guys vibe coding some really cool stuff these days using AI, and they're reimagining things that we're doing all the time. And you might call it crazy, but I would say you're just thinking outside the box.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just like the creativity of it. And, you know, we didn't talk much about AI today, but we're in a reconciliation of, you know, where does human ingenuity and automation and, you know, where's the line of doing AI responsibly come so that I can be a human being but still be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to give everything to your business and your baby and then you lose yourself along the way.
Yeah.
So hopefully people are using AI in a way that's helping them get to be a human on the other side of it.
Well, that's a deep conversation that we'll have to save for part 2 because I do think a lot of this leads us that direction. I do in fact think that entrepreneurialism is on the rise, and partly because it's being enabled by technology like AI, right? Like there's it's probably easier than ever to spin up a side hustle.
You're right, and the statistics do show there are more entrepreneurs.
Yep.
Last year there was more business startups and less job creation than the year prior.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question is, are people starting more businesses and being independently employed? Maybe. Is AI helping people get access to some of those resources faster? Probably. You know, a common question that we get here at the SBDC is, you know, what's the first step? Well, you go to the IRS and get an EIN number, and you go to Secretary of State and register your business. Those are two very simple things to do, but that could be a cog in your wheel. That might hold you up. And now with AI, people are like, oh, I've been thinking about the name of my business for 3 months and I haven't taken any action. Okay, great. Use AI and get a name. Let's go. Let's get you started. Don't let the name of your business be a reason you're not running your business.
Right.
So
yeah, man. I think we're heading into it, and I've been seeing the trend where people are. It used to be like you get a job, you stay there, and you retire, right? And you maybe have a few, maybe 1 or 2 job switches along the way, maybe, but some people know. A lot of people are just they go there and they hang out for the whole career. The world we're heading into, I think, it's multi-channel. You've got multiple things going on. You got multiple revenue streams coming in. And you're not as dependent on any single one of those. That's what I see. But apart from my little prophecy about the future, we're out of time. And Brandon, it's been an absolute pleasure just getting to know you and talk with you, man. Thanks for joining us today.
Johnny, thank you. You have a great podcast. As I said, you're my spirit animal. My other spirit animal, just so everybody knows, is Ted Lasso. I love his energy. I love the way he leads. But if it wasn't Ted Lasso, it'd be Johnny. So you're my guy.
That's an honor. It's an honor. And everybody stay with us up to this point. Thank you for hanging out. And I'll just continue to bring you inspiring people to collaborate with and to learn more about. So take it easy, everybody. Have a great day.